Yo, all right. So we're gonna go ahead and on the right. Here we go. What's going on? So today's gonna be a pretty simple stream. On the left we have the older Overwatch drawing that I did in 2017, late 2017. And on the right we have the redraw. Well, it's not a full redraw, but the cleanup job that I did. And I'm gonna actually go over. I'm actually gonna go over everything that I did, all the decisions that I made, the things that have changed in like my style, I guess. But we'll wait a few minutes and let people come in before we get into any of that. Can get in. I'm excited to talk about the different like stylistic choices that I made with the new one. This is one of those drawings that I've always wanted to clean up, and when we get into it, you're gonna see why. But we'll wait like 5 minutes or so to let people roll in. I'll let the Instagram know that we're live. We'll get the most viewers. We'll get as many viewers as we can. We'll get started in a few minutes. We're just gonna let people come into the stream first, and then we'll get to it. I guess this would be like an educational stream, yeah. Right? For realsies though, for realsies finale. No name, what's up? Yo, I'm excited. We're gonna have a little bit of an educational stream today. So, all right. We'll wait a couple more minutes to let more people roll in before we talk about the changes that I made and why. But before that, I want to say thank you to everybody, because last night we crossed 10,000 followers here on the channel. We did all that without doing any gimmicks. I didn't have to dress up as a dog and sit in the hot tub and beg for followers and shit, you know. What's going on, everyone? So the one on the left is the old one, the one on the right is the new one. Now this is the one on the right, we are viewing it in Clip Studio Paint. When I export the image as a PNG file, a lot of the lines actually smoothen out just a little bit. But anyway, it's fine. You good? Hey, what's going on? Yeah, I guess we can get started. I'm just gonna shut the music off. That way we could just focus on the art, on talking. Okay. So instead of just making a time-lapse drawing like I normally do with these bigger projects, I figured it'd be fun to show you the things that I changed from the old one, which is on the left, to the new one that's on the right. So other than adding the new heroes that have come out, because the one on the left, I did it, the last time I worked on it, when I looked at it, it looked like late 2017. So it's been, let's say, give or take 5 years since I've worked on this, since I've touched this drawing at all. And, you know, I take this one on the left. I would take prints of it to conventions and have it up on the walls and stuff. And I would always look at it and be like, oh, if I ever went back, I would change this, I would change that. So now that some time has passed, I was like, you know what? With Overwatch 2 just coming out, there's a definitive amount of Overwatch 1 characters. And I was just like, all right, we're just going to add everybody. And this drawing will finally be done. It'll be done, right? So other than adding all the new heroes, which let's go over all the new ones now. As you see, I added Sigma and Echo up top. Really like how the line work on him came out. Crazy amount of detail. And we'll get into that in a little bit about the detail in here. And the amount of detail per character actually played a big part as to some of the decisions that I made when it came to coloring. We added Echo up top, and you could see over here in the old one, they're not there because they hadn't been released yet. Baptiste. I love how Baptiste came out. I am really happy with how this one came out. By the way, I in the old version here, when I was doing shapes, I was using assisted tools because I did do this one in Photoshop, and the cleanup job and the new characters, I use Clip Studio Paint. So when I was using Photoshop in the old one, I was using a lot of the assisted tools, you know, like the ellipsis tools, and then I would use like you know, things to make straight lines. Everything here on these new characters, freehanded. So it goes to show how much line control I've developed over just the past like 5 years since we last worked on this. We have Wrecking Ball over here. Especially with Wrecking Ball, I used one assisted circle. All right, I just used one. I used one assisted circle right for this right here. But then everything else was freehanded. So, there's just like something to the imperfection of freehanded work that I think looks better than when it's too perfect like these are over here. Whoops. We added Bob and Ash. Really like how these came out. Who else did we add? People been bugging me about this damn Birdman. People bugging me about this bird for years. There, you happy? Now leave me alone about it. And I think that's all we had to add hero-wise. I think that's it, yeah. So, all right, so those are the characters that we added. Now I'm going to go over all the changes that I made to the existing characters. So let's go ahead and just start out with Tracer, since Tracer's up front. Right away, I think the thing you'll be able to notice the most is the coloring. Such a big group picture, absolutely. Thank you, I appreciate that. Actually, before we go anywhere, I want to tell you guys about did they sponsor Raycon? No, I'm just kidding. No, I want to show you guys about I made sure to balance out the values in the drawing, because if you look at the old one here, there's like ones and twos and nines and tens like all over the fucking place. So when we're talking, for those who are maybe not experienced artists, when you're talking about values, you're talking about the lightness and the darkness of colors. And I mean, like there's like guidelines, but there's no hard and fast. There's like no like rule on how to use values, right? But I find if you go too far one way, which you know you're making everything so bright, like close to white, and then you find sections that are like almost completely black. I don't know. I just don't find it as appealing anymore. Maybe my taste in art has changed, but anyway, when I turned this one gray, the values were fucking all over the place. So when I went back into the new one, it wasn't just about cleaning up the lines or recoloring. I had to kind of take existing colors and repurpose, but adjust the colors. So you see, those pinks are very different from each other, right? When you pull back, it actually looks nicer because it actually everything is more consistent with each other, value scale wise, right? So just right off, right away, that was one of my biggest concerns coming into adjusting this drawing here. Yeah. So anyway, we're gonna go back to Tracer here. God damn it! Come on, pure ref. So I did adjust Tracer's face. I found that her eyes, her face shape, even her smile, always, there's something always a little bit off. It wasn't bad. It wasn't bad, but it was always something a little bit off. Let me widen this out a little bit. Get a little bit more space here. There we go. So I see I had it going like outwards. Let me use a thicker brush. I had it going like outwards here for, you know, I think that's just how I drew eyes at the time. But I rounded out her eyes a little bit more. I think it looks better. And because I did that, I had to change the shape of this. See her smile here? She had like big old buck teeth in the front, and you couldn't see the bottom teeth. I don't like how that looks, so I adjusted it so you could see the top and the bottom of her teeth, and that just looks more. That looks better, right? Does that look nicer? And you'll notice I use a lot of on the old one. I use a lot of this. There's a really strong color dodge rim light on everything. And that's just kind of what I did at the time because I'm not gonna lie, I kind of used it to hide little not imperfections. I used it to hide stuff, you know. Like I was just like, all right, well, I find a lot of artists probably do that now, where it's like, oh well, I don't know if this is right, this is wrong. I'm just gonna use a lot of gradients, a lot of really strong rim lights, and really oversaturated colors to kind of hide my mistakes. And that's what I was doing with the old one. See, with the new one, I don't even have a shading layer. All of it is flat color. And the reason that I chose to go flat color instead of even having like a single cell shaded layer on here is because I'm not hiding anything anymore. I actually want to show off my line work. So when you're when you're drawing or painting, you're always going to have some like really strong attribute. My strongest attribute in everything I do is my line work. Specifically in this drawing, look at the detail I put into all of the armor, all of the mechanics in here. And it's like the more shading you add to something, the more you will push that line art away. You push it into the background. Whoops. The more you'll push that stuff into the background. So I was like, well, I want to really, really push out the line work on this redraw. You know, I don't want to lose any of it to gradients and shading. I don't want to hide any of it in like some color dodged rim light. I want to really, really emphasize my line work. So I made the lines thicker instead of having red lines, which these are actually red. You see them right here? I went with black because black pops out more. Be like, all right, well, what's the best thing about this drawing? It's my line work. So fucking let's make sure everyone can see the line work. And with that, you'll see I added a lot of spot blacks to a lot of areas. That's just another thing that I like to do now that will help the colors really pop. without needing to actually put like a gradation in there. So we're still on Tracer, right? With Tracer, other than changing her face, I actually made her rump a little bit bigger. Yeah, I made her butt a little bit bigger. And it's like you couldn't see, you could only see, oh, god damn it, come on. You can only see like one cheek right here, right? But I made it so that you could see both because like the way her body is tilted, you should actually be able to see both sides. And then I must have, you see this area right here that's empty under her arm? I must have just missed that because there's no way that there's nothing there. So I went ahead and just filled it in right here with the jacket, right? A cultured change, absolutely. And then I extended her leg because, yeah, it's in a 5-point perspective, but her leg would still be visible down here. You know what I mean? So I added that leg, or I extended her leg down there. Other than that, I got rid of all of these effects, like these glowing effects. See, they're just solid colors now. I'm not gonna lie, one of my biggest influences when it came to the changes that I chose to make here was I have the original visual source book for Overwatch 1. If you look, I don't know who here has this book, but you can Google it. The cover artwork, which I don't know who did the cover artwork to this, it's very inspired by this because I look at the designs and the detail of Overwatch characters, and I look at this cover, and this cover you can't see it, I guess, but like there's a lot of heavy black line art and a lot of spot blacks going on, and this just flat colors, just flat colors. Yeah, this is the original one with the sleeve and everything. But yeah, because the line art is so clean, and the you can grayscale check this one too. The values on it are on point. Um, all you needed was a flat color, and you don't need to change anything. You don't need to add anything else. Like if you took this drawing here, which is all just like heavy black lines, and the single layer of color, flat colors, the more you start adding to it, like the shading, the more you're gonna pull away from the how great the line art is. So I was really very inspired by this right here to go this direction with this drawing. And you can see where I added some spot blacks here. You see it's all over. Like when you zoom out, you can't really tell how much spot blackage is going on in this drawing. But if I were to turn it off, which I think I have the layer here to turn off. No, I don't. I actually merged it. Anyway, all I'm saying is if I didn't have all these spot blacks everywhere, you would totally be able to notice that the drawing would look a lot less dynamic. But it's in there, and maybe you can't tell where they are, but they're making a difference. It's one of those you may not notice it, but your brain notices it kind of things. Yeah, so those are the changes I made to Tracer. Nothing really, just the face shape adjustment, which I think we could universally say it looks better now, right? That and adding in spot blacks and then thickening up the line art, especially. So like you could see little areas here. Because I the first version I did in Photoshop, this one I did in Clip Studio Paint. And when I did Photoshop, I just used a hard round brush and I didn't use any line weight variations. Plus it being black lines, I think just looks way better. Let's go ahead and move upwards. We'll just go counterclockwise, all right? Can you already see? I know this one kind of looks more like it came out of like an anime, right? This one on the left. But what I did was really thicken up the lines. Again, if you do the value check on his different, like his lighter areas, they're like floating like one away from white. Like it's not great. But you flatten it all out like this, boy, does that not just look better on the right. Plus we added his bird. So bird whose name I could never pronounce. Hope everyone's doing well. If you're just joining, we are talking about the changes that I made from the old one to the new one, and why I did those things. There wasn't actually that much to change with him, other than like cleaning up his line art, fixing his colors or his values, and then adding in some spot blacks. Can you see the difference there? Just curious. Like in regards to Malcolm. Yeah, so like with the line weight, like you even look at his gun, the cannon in the back. You know, adding in that little bit of black there. Look at how much. I know it looks a lot more comic booky, and maybe that just has to do with like my preference now. Maybe 5 years from now, I'll be like, oh, why do you use so much black? You know, why did I do that on everything? But as of right now, that's what I like. The only thing in the entire drawing, the only thing that has 100 like full saturation are sections like this, where there's like a little splash of like teal, or in Tracer's gun, you know, that little splash of teal, or Hanzo's sword. Like they're a little, or like Mercy's wings. I did I did value check on everything, but when it came to particular parts of like neon lights and stuff on their armor, I cranked that shit all the way up. Yeah. Tim, what's up? You never want to go back to Photoshop? You know, Photoshop, I think, for me anyway, because I'm so used to Photoshop, I still use it for post-production stuff. So like when I go in and I do like color adjustments to photography and stuff like that, I still use Photoshop, just because I'm so used to it. Not to say Clip Studio, which is what I use now. It's not to say that it can't. It's just I'm just so used to Photoshop for that stuff. Well, congrats on day 49 to you. So yeah, so keep an eye out on where I am thickening the lines and where I'm adding spot blacks, right? So like little sections like underneath here. Look how much better it looks, because you don't really need to communicate what's underneath that armor right there, right? So it's just like, what, why? What is this right here? It's just nothing. This is nothing right here. Especially since it has the same, see the color here and the color here. They shouldn't be the same color because this is like hidden underneath, right? There's like no light should be getting to it at all. So I could either make this like a really under here, make it a really dark version of this tan color, or just turn it black. Just turn it black. All right, let's move on to Monsieur Winston. Heavy spot black area right here on the gun, because it's the underside of the gun, which should be getting almost no light. There was actually a period of time where I had it completely black, but I was like, I left the yellow sections here yellow because I was like, I put too much work into these fucking little diamond sections. I'm not gonna erase. I'm not gonna block them out. Yeah. Uh, I don't think I changed too much on him either. And we'll get to the areas where I almost completely redrew the whole characters. We'll get to those, but there are some that I got almost the first time. Like I nailed them on the first try. So I didn't change too much on him other than like the same line weight, spot blacks, removing that crazy rim light that I put on fucking everything to hide, you know. Tim, you weren't here earlier, but I was talking about in the new version, I'm just using flat colors and really detailed line art and spot blacks. I used to use a lot of these effects here, gradients and like rim lights to hide everything, right? Um, we don't want to do that anymore. We want to show off the line art. So Whitson's good. I don't think I changed too much on him other than, like I said, the line weight issues. No armor changes on him either. Yeah, pretty good. Sombra. Oh, Jesus Christ. All right, let's fucking get to this monstrosity right now. All right. All right, so motherfucking. All right, look at this face right here. That's like a $45 on the corner of TJ kind of face. You know what I'm talking about? Versus 45, 15. Anyway, this one I almost had to reconstruct the I basically had to reconstruct the entire face. And I think at the time my issue My issue was the angle of the face. I think I couldn't do that 3/4 from the bottom angle, which I think we'll see in a couple of other characters coming up as well. Yeah, I think I redid the whole face. I think I kept the nose. No, I redid the whole thing. I kept her mouth a little. Yeah, I kept her mouth. But you see, this I believe the ear was sitting about. I believe the ear was sitting about this far out. So you had all this space here that you could see over there, and then her eyebrow went like all the way out here. So we had this massive space, which is why it was hard to get that chin to look right. That's why she looks so bulky. But yeah, like you said, I mean, I would disagree. I don't even think the original one even looks good. But you know, the new one not only looks better, but it actually looks more like her, right? Yeah, using turning all the line art red in the old one, as you can see, that definitely like pulled away a lot, I think. Like, look at how effective having these really aggressive black lines is now. Now for Sombra, I think that's the only thing I needed to change with her, honestly. Everything else was fine. Oh, see the cape area here? When I do these, whenever I do a drawing that has like multiple characters, um, the original Overwatch I did in 2017, and then it was late 2017. Actually, I can pull up the exact date. The original version of it, but then I did do two updates to it after the original. So I don't know the dates of the updates. Um Hold on, let me pull up something real quick. My hard drive will load. Okay. Okay, so it looks like the very, very, very first version of this I did in April 2017. I think I finished it in June of 2017. It just took me so long to do it. And then the update after that was a month after what's her name? Moira came out. So you could look up the date for when Moira came out. 1 month after that was when I did the last update. So yeah, so you see this coat area here, right? How in the old one it looked like this, right? And there's just that negative space between them. This is just me. This has not there's no like art rule that I read anywhere that you know this comes from. This is just me. Any chance I have to put something behind something else to kind of like uh well, how do you say it, to create more of like a miniature foreground, miniature background, because when it's just, I don't know, is it just me? You know what I'm talking about? When it's just like this and they're not touching each other. That's cool, but look at how much more interactive it looks when you know that this goes all the way to the back. I think when I was doing this, I almost considered having it go all the way out to the side like that. Coming out the other end like that. You know what I'm saying? Like, look how much of a difference it makes. It's just kind of like it's all interacting with each other a little bit more. Those are just little things that bother me that I take into consideration when it comes time to clean it up. I think everything else here looks okay. That I think this facial reconstructive surgery we did here on Sombra, I think this is like no, this is not the best cleanup job. No. The best cleanup job is D.Va, which is coming around on the other side of the drawing. Like Jesus Christ. Okay. Um oh yeah, okay. We're talking about spot blacks here. Can you see them? On the bottom side of like the armor, on the bottom side of the belt buckles, you know. Under here. Just little bits. of spot blacks. Look how much of it, look how much it makes everything, the flat colors pop out. But okay, when it comes to the face, I was pretty fine with the face here, other than she just was just like man, you know, like so what, I got a frog mouth. What are you gonna do with this frog mouth, right? Like, so I was just like, yeah, let's just have her. No, the new one's done. This is done. Yeah, so I just wanted to give a little bit of expression in the face rather than just have like an angry frog mouth. Um, weapon wise, I didn't need to change anything. The perspective on everything was on point here. And then we did add Baptiste, which I'm really happy with how Baptiste came out. Let's move on. All right. Soldier Boy didn't need too much changing either, other than cleaning up some line art and balancing the values, which yeah, not too much change there. Okay. Oh yeah, and then Wrecking Ball. Let's go to our boy over here. So you can see where I added the spot blacks to the mechanical parts of the legs. And I don't know if you could tell, but this is really fucking dark right here. Like if you hit this onto the value scale, it's like a fucking like 8 or 9. That's how dark it is. Like it's like really really dark. So I balanced it out here, and you can see how much more it pops. It just this it's blander, but because it's up against black, I feel like it pops out a little bit more, even if it's not quite as aggressive with the blue. Little changes. Facial structure. Another one of those facial structure things. I didn't want to redraw his whole face, so I just I think I squished it a little bit, changed the eye shape, changed the facial expression. The chin is actually a completely different shape. The neck is a totally different width. I think in the old one, I think the neck came out like right here, and then like right here. So I thickened it up by giving him an actual like an Adam's apple, and then just like um the arm musculature. I mean, we'll give our boy just a little bit of muscles, right? So you can, on the old one, I had just was using like that anime look, that really smooth line anime look. But on the new one, I just gave him just a little bit of just a little bit of work in there. Give him a little bit of muscle. And then I think that's kind of all I changed on him. Yeah, nothing crazy. A lot of this we got pretty well on the first round. So you could see the spot blacks I added in the gun. So I know, so you ask, is this one still being edited? The answer is no, it's like, it's done. And I know that we're probably going to get that question asked about why isn't it shaded in? Like, where's all the cell shading to it? There's a couple of things that I want to talk about with that. It's one, like I showed you, very inspired by the original Overwatch book, and a lot of this doesn't have it doesn't have any extra shading in it. But you guys know that when you're working on something, we're talking specifically line work. If you have really good line work, the more stuff you add on top of it, the less your line work will show. The one on the right is the newer one. So like you know how you're working on something like a gesture, right? So you're like, oh, I have the line of action. It's really really crazy, and you're gonna throw your character on top of it, right? And then you're like, all right, well then I'm gonna go ahead and add musculature to it. And you're like, oh, I'm gonna add like clothes to it. And it's like the more stuff you add over, you know, something, it's things tend to get a little bit more stiff. So if your line art is really good, like mine is, it's gonna say it. The more colors I add, the more it's washing out the lines, and that's why I don't. Yeah, it reads better as a print. I was gonna get into that. I was gonna get into that at the end, but if you want to start talking about that now, yeah. So there's another thing where you have to remember I'm making these with the intention of having them sold as prints, right? So I display my artwork at conventions. And one of the things you need to consider when doing artwork specifically for that purpose is how is this going to read as a poster at your display when people are walking by, right? And you're just like, this is kind of cool, the one on the left, but look at how much more aggressive the one on the right is. Those blacks in there. It's very aggressive. Well, yeah, thank you. You said Ned says, I like the comic book-esque feeling. It really shows the skill it takes to make the weapons and mechanisms square and true. Yeah. We do have a shit ton of detail in the guns, in everything. And it's like as I added colors and like the shading and the gradients and the rim light, it washed all that detail out to the point where you can't even see it anymore. What was the fucking point of any of that, right? It's making you pretty happy. Yeah, but thank you for noticing that. Yeah. But structurally, I think this one was fine. We didn't really need to change too much on here. Yeah, this one there was like no cleanup job other than sharpening the line work, which I'm really happy with. Same thing with Moira. I'm actually really happy with how Moira came out on the original run. Whoops. There was just some adjustments I had to do with the armor around the knees, I believe. Perspective wise. And then there's a lot of spot blacks I did. And then again, the value correction. No, we were just talking about how no, we're not going to add any more to it, and we've actually just been talking about why. It actually reads better as is because we're really emphasizing the line art. Plus, there's this other thing that I was talking about with my wife where it's like I where it's like I don't want everything that I produce to look exactly the same. Where it's like rough draft, line art, local colors. If you're gonna cell shade it, pick your shading, and then maybe put a little gradients for the lighting, and then a rim light. Like that's just like the sequence that almost fucking everyone goes through all the time, right? And I'm just like, I want to just do that over and over and over. Like this one will look so much different from the other big projects that I have. And I think that's part of the fun of it. You don't want it to look exactly like the League of Legends piece. I don't want it to look exactly like the Dragon Ball piece. So getting that more comic book style is actually one, I think it looks better, but two, I think it's more fun because we get to do something different. All right, you want to get to the first what the fuck? All right. All right, so see this little munchkin, this Reaper. All right, look at this. We gave him like real legs. I gave him like real legs and feet. Those clown feet. At the time, I was so focused on the perspective, right? I was just like, and again, so we're talking about perspective here. I was so focused on because by the time you're at the top of the drawing here, you know, this is based in roughly a 5-point perspective. I didn't use the grid like 100%, but I use it as like a guideline, right? So by the time you get up to Reaper up top, you should be getting this motion for everything. You should be seeing things from underneath, which is why, you know, instead of having the armband straight or downwards, it's upwards like this because you're looking up at them. That's where all that comes in, right? That's why everything has that shape to it. Even in the old one, I kind of had that because you're looking up at them. However, look at their feet. Oh, you haven't been here in a while? Yeah, no. I chose to do this instead of the Teen Titans piece because I've just been really tired lately, and I found as I was working on the Teen Titans piece, I just didn't have it in me. Like my brain was just not like I couldn't come up with a new drawing because I was so tired. So I was just like, this Overwatch piece is not going to require as much like like creative work. This is a very much more technical correction kind of thing that I was kind of was it? I don't want to say mindless, but it's not as demanding. So I didn't do the Teen Titans piece yet. Um, yeah, yeah. So you see Reaper's feet. I was so focused on the perspective. I was just like, well, if it's that, if the perspective is that aggressive, then you should be able to see the bottom of his feet, right? Like that. You know what I'm talking about? And at the time, you know, I just couldn't. uh, this was cleaning this up was actually a lot of fun because I've been staring at this drawing for years, talking to myself about the things that I would love to clean up one day, and I was just fuck it, let's just do it, let's get it over with, and now I don't ever have to update this drawing ever again because now Overwatch 1 is done and we have everything. So that's what happened with the old one. I was just so focused on making sure the perspective was on point that I forgot to like make it look good, So got long gone are these clown feet. I actually extended his legs in general. So these are actually sitting probably like this much lower, the knees. Then we actually have the full legs. Yeah. Talk about spot blacks. The inside of Reaper's entire cape is just black versus look at it over here on the left. Like do you see the difference about how much the colors pop? I would argue that even though there's no gradients and it's just flat colors on the right side, I would argue that the colors are popping out a lot more just because of how aggressive the blacks are on Reaper. That's what I think. Yeah, so fixing his clown feet was always high on my priority list. Um okay. I know she's supposed to be old, but I made her like too old. Whoops. So with this one, it was just the face needed some adjusting, and then the hair just needed a little bit of adjusting because I don't know, the hair looks really weird here. Like she got electrocuted. So I was just like, let's make it a little smoother. And then you see the line work is a lot heavier. The black line art is a lot heavier. But other than that, I think everything else here was fine. Same thing with the underneath the coat blacks, right? Yeah, she didn't need that much repair work. Doomfist also did not need much work. We got it right the first time. But look how much better it looks now. Look how much better he looks now on the right side. I fixed the values on it, and I don't know. That's just me. I think he looks better now. So there was not too much change there. Ah, this was my favorite in the entire drawing. I'd actually like to see you do Doom or Dead Space. Oh, Dead Space would be fun, huh? You see the improvement in the drawing, but you still love the color and lighting in the old one. I mean, it's not that it's bad. It's just that I don't know. I just maybe it's because I've stared at it for a lot longer than you guys have. I stare at it like every day, right? And I think the style shift is just something that I've always wanted to do. And besides, I mean, when we get it into print form, I guarantee this one on the right is gonna look like, if we get the prints in hand, like in person, and you have them side by side, I guarantee the one on the right is gonna look better in print. Yeah. Yeah, I had to really resist the urge to completely redraw the whole thing. Like as I went over, as I went through it, I was just like, well, if I just erase the entire character, I bet I can do it better. And I was just like, no, fuck all that. That's way too much work. But yeah, she didn't. Farrah didn't need any changes. I mean, again, other than the blacks, didn't need any changes. All right, we're gonna talk about my boy over here. So you look at the old one, right? This was the main thing that I needed to fix, right? And the old one, his head was sitting like right here, which doesn't make any sense. I pushed it back so you could see it close this little gap right here, right here. I actually, I shift, I picked up his head, I shifted it back over here, so now it lines up more with the spine. Look at how much better it looks. Just like his chest is puffed out a lot more. He just looks stronger, right? All I did was move his head back, and like look at how much more his chest is like sticking out because it's lined up with his spine now. And the old one, he was like right here, right there. Yes. So in the old one, I had that atmospheric distortion, and I had him in the background, and he's very very much in the background in the old one, and it was kind of weird because he's the only character that I applied an atmospheric distortion to, and I was just like, that's kind of weird, right? Um, but in the new one, he's very much he's very much a character in the front. I think that's all I changed. But again, we'll talk about spot blacks, right? Like, look at the lion head here. How much more it pops. But other than that, I think. Oh, no, 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 no. His leg as well. Um, so I did pull the leg out just a little bit further. And then I extended this about. I added like that much to it, and then I know that I made his feet just bigger in general. So there's like little shifts that I did that maybe you can't notice, but they're there. This next one, Symmetra gave me mad problems the first time around, gave me mad problems during the cleanup job. So I'm still like 70% happy with how the rework came out. But I worked, I did the best with what I had to work with without having to redraw the whole thing. First off, I fixed her skin tone, first of all. Um, she was looking very flat on the old one, and I don't mean like titty flat. I mean like she didn't have any volume. So I fixed a lot of that. I feel like she definitely is showing a lot more volume in the new one. Um, the armor I kept the same. Oh, here is the biggest part. I extended her. If you could see in the old one, her knee was like, what was it? Her knee is like right here. I went ahead and extended it like way further, and she just looks better. But it's mainly the face. Again, I'm still 70% on the face, but it's like, shit, come on. Stop doing that. I'm still like 70% on the face, but I think it looks better than the old one. And I think that's it. I like the hard outline that showed up around her visor. Okay, let's switch over. Okay, we got another fun one. It's another one of those head spine placement things, right? In the old one, her head actually sat. You can see it sits above her shoulder, like over here, right? So I actually did the same thing I did with Ryan, or I lifted it up and moved her head back a bit. So now it lines up a little bit better with the spine. Other than that, I didn't really do any changes to her design other than, again, same thing with the line art and the spot blacks. But I've always known that the head was always sitting just a little too far in front, because that would mean that her neck is like, it's like that. You know what I'm talking about? The black in her shoe. Yes. I could have redrawn. I actually had a version of it where I actually whoops. God damn it. I'm not used to using pure ref, so it's throwing me off. I actually had a version of this the other day where I actually got rid of this whole thing, and I had her leg come out almost like this. It was more or less like that. So I had actually drawn a whole thing like that. I thought it looked kind of cute, but I was just like, eh. Decided to keep the old one. I added everybody, yeah. Yeah, earlier in the stream, we talked about the characters that I added who weren't in here before, because the old version only went up to Moira. Oh yeah, I don't think we've looked at the finished Bob Nash yet. All right, in regards to reworking, we're talking about the big one here. All right, so this is the old one, okay? This is the new one. All right, so before we talk about Diva, we'll talk about mechanic stuff. The reason I added Bob, and we actually had a discussion about this during the process, where I was just like, do we want to put both of them or just Ash? And to me, it's that thing where, okay, I'm gonna be walking around, I'm gonna be traveling and selling prints of this at conventions. The last thing that I need to be hearing every fucking weekend is someone being like, "Oh, that's cool, Ash. Where's Bob though?" You know, like they're gonna say that, like they're gonna fucking bother me about it. So I was just like, I'm gonna make my life a lot easier. I'd rather just draw him in there and get it over with. You know, I'm not gonna lie. That's the only thing that motivated me to to draw him in there. Because you know how people are. So again, we were talking about value corrections, right? The pinks here, completely different from the pinks here. However, I would argue that it looks, it's not, it's a little bit less saturated and it's a lot darker, but I think it looks better on the new one. It's like bubblegum. I made the wings, whatever you want to call them, a lot longer. I think it looks a lot more aggressive that way. But it's the interior. It's the interior here that I really, really needed to fix. Like, Jesus fucking Christ. Like, look at the difference here. All right, so in the old one, I could not get this pose down. This pose where you have the body. Let's pick a different color. Let's pick a different color. I could not get this pose right here. Where she's like leaning backwards. I could not get that pose looking right in the old one. So instead, if you see the old one, she's just like sitting upright and then her body just vanishes. And the armor up front here, see it right here? It's like, there's like no space. You see in the new one, you can tell that there's space between her and this piece right here, the backside of this piece right here, because there's volume. There's space there now, right? And the old one, I didn't have that because I couldn't do it. Like, I just didn't. I remember hammering away at that drawing, and I just couldn't get it to look right. So I did what everyone does, and I just put a bunch of fucking crazy green highlights and gradients, and I hid everything because I was like, well, if I put enough lighting everywhere, no one's gonna fucking notice, right? And that's, you know, um, and like the overall structure of like, see this area here, and then like the area here, like just like the overall structure, I couldn't get it to look right. Again, it was a perspective problem. I couldn't get the volume of I couldn't get it to look like there was like a space inside of the machine, you know. Same thing here. See the glass in the front is like so flat, like it's sitting like that. Doesn't look comfortable for a human, but that's how she sits in it, so that's how she lays down in it, yeah. Versus the new one, there's very much like a bubble space to like a bubble shape to it. The old one, it looked like a fucking windscreen just down, you know. And then in facial structure issues. Less is more, as in you know, the phrase is line economy. You want to get as much information across with as least lines as possible. And it's a little bit more anime look because that's just how I draw things now. But there's way less detail in the new one, but there's so much more information, and it's much more readable, and the expression's better, everything. Like, anyway, this one was one of the few times where, god fucking damn it, Pure Ref, come on. This was one of the few, I think the only one, where I completely erased the old character. Better volume in the hair too. Yeah, right? It's very puffy, isn't it? I think this is the only one where I was just like, fuck this. I'm just going to erase this whole middle section and just start from scratch. So I'm very happy with how that came out. And again, with the hands, I know that she has some like fucking Mickey Mouse cartoon hands now, but like, it looks a lot more like she's grasping than this old one. This old one, she's just like, I'm just holding on to these, you know, whatever. No, this new one, she's just like, she's grabbing onto them. She's like controlling it, you know. Okay, so there was just a little bit of cleanup job to do on this one. First thing is, see the chest plate on the left side, how far it goes? It almost went all the way out here. Let's pick a different color. It went like all the way out here. So one, not only was the left breastplate, not only was the left breastplate like way too big, it just didn't look right. Like proportion wise, it was fine, but for some reason the plate was so far out. So I brought the plate in, and then I showed the underside or the side part where the arm comes out, and look how much better that looks, right? Very boob-like, and that comes from that. All that, the only thing that I changed in that area, honestly, I didn't change anything on the left side. All I did was I shortened this. That's it. Look how much of a difference that made. That's it. The leg, I swear to God, yeah. See the old leg, there was like no pelvic area like at all, right? It was just straight. It was just like straight leg, you know. So without having to redraw the whole thing, what I decided to do was I brought it down really far where I can add, you know, a little bit of musculature down, or a little bit of butt here, and then the leg. So I thickened it up so that it actually looks like he has, you know, a pelvis now. Another thing is, what else did we do here? More spot black issues. See the black underneath the hat? Okay. Oh, Pure Ref, I'm gonna fucking lose my mind. I think that's all for McCree. Just subtle changes, but huge difference. Look at how much those subtle changes. Oh, the grenade details. Well, details in everything. Okay, let's go to Brigitte. This one I'm very happy with the rework on this one. Okay, so I can pretty much remember everything we changed here. Hopefully I don't skip over anything. Okay, so first of all, don't do it. Okay. Okay. Sorry. First off, her hairline. Her hairline went like all the way up here. And that has always bothered me. And I know her hair is being, swept back, but it just didn't look good. So I went ahead and lowered her hairline just a little bit. I know I did something with her hair here, but I can't remember what. So with the hand, the hand and face looks better in the newer coloring. Well, thank you. Let's go ahead and compare the hand. In the old one, first off, there's a tangent right there, which Jesus fucking Christ, we don't do that anymore, right? So there's that thing we were talking about earlier where if you could put something in front of something else, you should do that. So like I didn't want her hand just floating. I want her hand to cover part of her torso. And because the hand, or the forearm here is so stubby, look how short that is. I decided to actually move it out, down, and then to the right a little bit. And then I added quite a bit more forearm, but it is foreshortened. So, I mean, you don't want to add too much, but it doesn't look as, the tangent. You may not know, but I know, right? So I moved the arm down. I moved the hand down. I actually brought the pinky up a little bit. See this old one? Pinky's just, it's fine, but I was like, look, I'm already adjusting things. So I put the pinky where it needed to be. So that's that. All right, so let's go ahead and just get to the body. Oh boy, we're talking about volume, right? You look at the old one. Look at the old one, the volume. Oh, well, we're just talking about construction of everything in general. Let's get to the body. Let's start up with the neck and move our way down. You see the old one? It's just like a bunch of nonsense up here because in my brain I couldn't visualize because I couldn't find good reference pictures. So I couldn't visualize what the armor around the neck would look like. It's simple. It's just this right here. It's just that shape. But I couldn't figure that out at the time. So now we have, that like almost was it almost like a big collar with a hole in it, right? So this was actually pointing out like way too far before. So I remember I had actually shortened it a little bit. I brought it in so that's more round instead of being so like pointy here. Made everything a lot more round rather than being sharp. And then stop it. And then for the body, if you see here, it actually goes in. Now, if she was not wearing heavy armor, then yeah, that would actually make sense that it would start to curve in right here. But because she's wearing heavy armor, I decided to expand it a little bit and have it go out. I brought everything out just a little bit from the old one. Give her a little bit more like body mass. And then I had her leg come down, and I think I had that over here too. But on her left leg, our right side, her leg was going outwards before. Like I had it going out. I went ahead and just brought it down like that. Little changes on this one. I think that's it on that. Again, it had a lot to do with like the mechanical structures. All right, we'll get to road right here. I'm still like 70% on them, but I did this. I free-handed this whole chain. What a fucking I don't know if I would do that these days. Old version, like old me, we'll draw an entire chain like that by hand. Hours of work. I don't know about new me, but anyway, so there wasn't too much to change other than see here on the leg. Because it's foreshortened so much, I added this little bit bob here, show a little bit more of the top of the shoe instead of just being straight underneath it. Because this section should really just be like that. But I think everything else remains pretty unchanged with him, especially him and Junkrat. Very, very much left unchanged. Just kind of clean him up a little bit. Redid the like the soot on his skin. Yeah, there's almost nothing to talk about with Junkrat. Well, like we got him right the first time. I don't think I did too much with him. All right, let's get to our boy over here, Hansa. First off, fixing the colors helped a lot. Second, because we're drawing him in a bit of a like a top-down perspective, he was a little too narrow here, and you could see it on the left side here. So the solution to that was I just brought the belt around a little bit more. Parsley, get down. Get down. Come on. Get down. And so I did widen this out just a little bit. Because it was just like it was a little too narrow before. So I think I added this section right here. Right? And look how much of a difference that makes. There was something else I changed here. Oh yeah. Again, I added a little bit over here. Just to show that the cloth continues to move, continues on underneath here. Again, it's another one of those, is it in front or behind kind of things where all the detail in the tattoo, that's all hand done, by the way. So just like all the details in the tattoo, that's I wanted to I actually like duplicated the line art to it multiple times so that I can get it to darken up the lines so that we can see the details more. That's mainly just because I put a lot of time into it and I didn't want to fucking lose all the detail I put into the tattoo. See what else did I change on here? I just did a minor perspective shift here on the oh, wait till we get to Widow, I swear to God. Right here. Where in the old one it was like that. But because it's closer to the center of the image, you really shouldn't be seeing too much of the side of this right here. So that's why that was a small shift in the perspective. I think that's it for him. Oh, I did some facial reconstructive work. I think I cleaned up his eyes a little bit. I think I shifted them a little. Nothing crazy though. Let's go to Genji. So I have fixed his rear end, bubbled it up a little bit. I know for a fact I lengthened his leg just a little bit. I think in this section right here. I adjusted the colors because I know that his body armor is different from like his arm and chest armor. There's also the little things like in the arms here. I just was just like, for some reason back then I was just like, circles, that's fine. But it's not circles, it's a structure. There's something in there, right? And I actually adjusted the size of his head because he kind of looks like a bobblehead character here, right? So while it could still be a little smaller than what I have, I actually did. I brought in the head quite a bit. I think the original head went like, I want to say it went like this far out. No, it was pretty big, but I shaved a lot of it off so they didn't look like a fucking Funko Pop. All right. Okay, here's another one that I'm really happy with. Again, I'm like 80% on this cleanup job, but and it wasn't that the one on the left was bad. It just didn't look like Widow. You know? So boy, what did I do? I brought this in over here. Let me pick a different color. I brought it in over here. I know I lengthened this leg over here. I think it was right here I added more. I did change her right arm. Yeah. The problem is with the angle the gun was sitting. If I had to choose, if I could redo the entire thing, I would have her gun more foreshortened upwards like this, or maybe not fully at this, but like not fully down like this. I would have tilted it up a little bit. But because this is where the gun was, and I wasn't about to redraw the whole thing, I was really stuck with the angle that her right, our left arm could be at. So I did redraw that whole arm there, and I think it looks better, as good as it's gonna get. Right. But the thing that made, and I increased her bust size, but the thing that made her look weird here was the facial structure. And I went back and forth redrawing this face so many times, and I eventually just was like, all right, look, one, the head was too big. Again, bobblehead character, proportions were off. So I redrew the armor around the head, and I made it taller, and I gave it more like volume. Because on this one, it's almost like there's volume to it, but it's almost like it's going inside her skull. This one, I'm having it protrude out more. And then I brought these bits on the sides closer in here. And then I gave her like a lot more like dastardly looking eyes, like meh, you know. And that worked. And then again, I lengthened and sharpened her jaw because that's what that character looks like. And then I actually see how big her shoulder armor is. I actually brought that down a lot. I shrank it a lot. And then I think I had her trap sitting like up here. I got rid of that just to make her sleeker. I think making her slimmer, making her a little, leaner, a little hotter. Like that's what I wanted to do. And I'm really happy with how it came out. There's still things that I would change about it if I was allowed to redraw the whole thing, but I'm not about to redraw the whole thing. So I'm actually happy with how it came out. Here's another one where we didn't really have to do any adjustments. I think he had like the least amount of adjustments because he's pretty on spot the first time. Even the values, other than the reds, like the values I had on him were actually pretty good on the local colors, the flat colors on him. So yeah, this one was pretty easy. There's really nothing to say about this one. Okay, again, this one was pretty good the first time around. Those dwarven studies. I didn't even need to apply any studies to that one though, because that one was good the first time around. So Okay, so this one we also got pretty good the first time. I didn't need to do too much adjusting. However, the coloring was all mixed up. These Ronald McDonald colors were all mixed up. And then there was actually another layer of cloth that he has that I didn't realize. I missed it. Like I didn't have it in there last time. So I just put it in, and I'm always happy to fill in more negative space. But other than that, didn't really need to change anything on him. You know, spot blacks and all that stuff like we're doing to every character, but no real changes. And I do have to go back and proofread this drawing one last time before I deem it 100% done. And by proofread, I mean, are there any little pixels that are missing? You know, like that's the kind of stuff I need to do still. And I think we'll come to the ending here, which is Mercy. Now, one thing that has always bothered me over the years since I did the original version of this drawing, when I looked at her, I was just like, that's cool. But for the sake of the drawing, those wings needed to be way bigger. Those wings needed to be way bigger. Look at how far out they go now. They go all the way to Diva on the new one. They reach hella far. And I think that looks like when you look at a zoomed out version of the drawing, look at how good that looks to kind of frame everything. Like it's the center of the drawing. It was just so like, you know. Anyway, that is one of the ones that I needed to fix. That's one of the things I absolutely needed to fix on her. Stop it. Other than that, she didn't really have any other adjustments that I needed to do. No other real adjustments I needed to do. I definitely leaned her face down a little bit. You could see it there. It's a little bit square in the other one. I made her hair a little bit longer. I think I did that to kind of help fill in some negative space. And the old one, the armor only went to about right here. However, I wanted to extend it to go up over the shoulders a little bit. So that I know I extended that a little bit. Other than that, I don't think I really changed too much. Parsley, go lay down. And we're gonna talk about one last thing. So you guys, those are all the little changes that I made. Oh, here, the background. So with all of my big character projects, I use this tan background on everything, and I drop it, and I use the same color on all of them. And I had it here in the old Overwatch drawing. But you know, I'm getting to a place where I'm just like, I want to start experimenting. I don't, like we talked about earlier, I don't want all my shit to just be off an assembly line. Like if I were gonna do that, then I'll just do like single character drawings of like popular anime characters and then draw them all in this exact same style. And again, that's totally cool. I used to do that, but I'm at a point where I'm just like, look, man, I want everything to fucking look the same. It's boring. Comes off an assembly line. Boring, right? So you see the background. The very center of the background has that same tan look to it. So when you have it up on the wall with a bunch of the other ones, I mean, it'll look like it comes from the same set. But now we're doing something a little bit more fun. You know, there's just a slight, very slight gradation in the background, and I think that adds a lot. And another reason we're going all in on the lines, you see the background here, I added a really thin black line. Hey! Dogs, man. I added a really thin black line, right? There's this part of me that was just like, if I'm going to do another square background, I think it will just look better if it had that line on it. I can't explain why, but I was just like, visually, because we're communicating everything in this drawing with lines instead of contours, you know, contours as in like, we're not using gradations, we're using lines to communicate everything. I was just like, well, it almost feels like it fits. And I can't explain what it is, but my brain automatically was just like, nah, dog, you just gotta put a fucking thin outline around it, it's gonna work. And when I was talking to myself, I was like, oh, why is that gonna work? Like, nah, dog, don't worry about it, it'll work. Yeah. Now I need to show you something. You see the last thing I want to talk about is the most satisfying thing of this drawing. You see the beam, Tracer's beam, her like her after image. Hold on, let me pull this up real quick. So the initial sketch to this drawing I did 4/15/2017. The very first like rough draft that I did for this sketch. Right? 4/15/2017. I had, you can see it here. I had the beam fucking, and I've played around with so many different during the redraw. I played around with so many different ways of having the energy, her beam like fly around the screen, right? But I came to the conclusion that something simple like this, for composition purposes, is the best way to go. But I couldn't get it to work on the older version because I don't know, maybe I wasn't good with composition. I wasn't good with making things read right. I didn't know what I was doing, so I was just kind of like, I'm just not gonna put it in, right? I just not gonna put it in, whatever. So when I did the redraw, I was just like, finally, 5 years later, 6 years later, we're gonna fucking do it. We're gonna add it in. So to me, just staring at the old draft of it, when I was prepping for the redraw or the cleanup job, I was just like, oh, that's gonna be super satisfying to put that in there. And even that, I put a thin black outline on it. And look at how much it kind of just fits with everything. Now, in regards to composition, readability, in my brain, we naturally read. The when I think about composition, for me, one of the things I think about is, how the audience reads it. Naturally, no. Naturally, you'll start reading from the top left, right? And then you're gonna go like this. You'll see that beam. It should help carry you all the way to the front. That's one of those little things that, if done right, will really help with the composition of the drawing. And I think, in my opinion, I think we did it right. Also, because we're using that tan background, which is almost like an orange, the blue is actually a complementary color to that. So I was just like, wow, this is just really gonna work out in all fields, right? And then having it run in front of some characters and then behind other ones, I think looks really cool. It's just like a cool visual thing. That's color dodge, by the way. I never use color dodge, but here we are. But yeah, and again, it just like the line art looks like excessively heavy right now because we're zoomed out in Clip Studio. But when I export it as a PNG, and it smooths everything out, it actually looks a lot cleaner than it does. But anyway, that's we'll lay down. Getting close to the end. My dog's getting restless. Probably needs to go out. But yeah, so too long didn't read. The long short of it, the changes I made, I did. I pulled away from the cell shading. I pulled away from all of that because I really wanted to emphasize my best attribute, which is the line art. And those are all the choices I made. And despite it technically having less things going on, I think it just reads way better. Yeah, pretty cool. Those are the things I was thinking about as I was working on it. No, this is strictly Overwatch 1. Strictly Overwatch 1. You go outside? Yeah, so the just wait for like 3 minutes. Uh yeah, so one of the reasons I didn't update it prior to this was like, as I do these, like the Pokemon piece, they're always like, what about the next generation? Like people always bugging me about what League of Legends, what about the next champion? Once Overwatch 2 was released and I realized, I'm like, I could actually finish this as Overwatch 1 and it'll be a complete piece and I never have to touch it again. I was just like, oh shit. Oh, that's it. We got to go then. Like, yeah. But yeah, that's it. I think I'm very happy with how it came out. I was able to execute on all of the little things that I have thought about changing over the past few years. It's just something so satisfying about executing on all those ideas, and I think we did them well. And I'm really happy to get this one out into circulation in the convention scene. And I'll have it up in the online shop in maybe like 2 weeks once I get the inventory printed and in hand. But yeah, that's it. Hope you guys like it. I hope this was a fun peek into my crazy brain of things that I was considering as we were working on it. But yeah, at the end of the day, I didn't want it to look like the old one plus more. I wanted it to be like, all right, look, here's the definitive version. It's basically a brand new drawing. Let's go. You know? So thank you all for hanging out. The dog, you could hear the dog whining. She wants me to take her out. This is fun. I'll probably edit this and put it up on the YouTube. I'll edit this stream and I'll put it on the YouTube as a like an explanation of before and after kind of deal. So, all right, everybody, hop into the Discord if you're not already. Thank you for hanging out. Parsley wants to say hi. You go potty? Okay. All right. See you guys. Thank you for hanging out.